Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your Monday Night Raw post-show. A couple of things I want to start off before we even get into Monday Night Raw, man. Number one, obviously this show was taped. It was not live. But I think a lot of people actually had an issue trying to figure out how the hell to even watch this show. So, for me personally last night when I was, getting ready to watch Monday Night Raw and take my notes like I usually do to give you guys a review, I didn't know the show was taped. Number one, which, again, hand up for that, for accountability. But two, when you go on Netflix, when I hit, it pops up on their homepage as Monday Night Raw. So when I clicked on the Monday Night Raw and it hit play, it took me to an August 25th episode of Monday Night Raw, right before or right after Clash in Paris. So I'm watching this for 5 minutes, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So then I go back, and then I'm trying to figure this out and trying to figure out how to watch Monday Night Raw, because obviously it's Monday and Raw comes on TV or on Netflix at 8 p.m. Eastern. So I'm trying to figure this out the entire time, man. And then finally my wife was like, hey, maybe you had to go through the episodes, check out the list. And then finally I found the episode for December 22nd, 2025. So I'm like, damn, man, this is absolutely confusing. So that was in itself a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. So clearly the show was not taped. Number one, and then when I clicked the show, or not live, the show was taped, but then when I clicked onto the show to watch last night's Raw, I also noticed that the runtime of the show was only an hour and 34 minutes, so I was like, damn, man, something is definitely off, and it goes to show you, throughout the entire Monday Night Raw episode last night, there was no commercials, there was no ads whatsoever, so there's at least an hour and some change of commercials throughout Monday Night Raw to push Raw every week, at least 2.5 hours every Monday night, which is absolutely insane. But needless to say, let's just get into the show, man. We started the night with Rhea Ripley taking on Asuka. I thought it was a decent match at best. Back and forth matchup between Rhea and Asuka, with Rhea keeping the pace of the match. Kairi Sane, who was ringside, ends up tripping up Rhea Ripley, and the referee was distracted. This allowed Asuka to land devastating kicks on Rhea Ripley. Rhea and Asuka both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Rhea applying a prism lock on Asuka, but the hold is quickly broken. Asuka then hits a German suplex on the apron on Rhea Ripley. Rhea then gets up, hits a senton off the apron, taking out Asuka on the outside. Kairi Sane, who was still ringside, attacks Rhea. Io Sky comes out to the ring. Io attacks Kairi Sane, but Kairi then attacks Io, which ultimately caused Rhea Ripley to be distracted. This allowed Asuka to hit a roll-up on Rhea Ripley. Pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Asuka. Hats off to Asuka for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Becky Lynch, which she wasn't really scheduled for the show, but she ends up showing up. Grabs a microphone. Becky says that Maxine is not women's Intercontinental Champion material. Becky says that she has people looking into the match that she had with Maxine. After that, Maxine is here. She interrupts Becky Lynch. Maxine says that Becky is the GOAT. But the fact that Maxine says that she also beat the GOAT 3 different times. Maxine said that she's going to do anything that she can in her power to stay Women's Intercontinental Champion. Maxine then mocks Becky, but Becky quickly attacks Maxine. But Maxine then applies an ankle lock, and Becky Lynch taps out. Then she rolls out of the ring, pretty much frustrated with Maxine Dupree. So it looks like we have some unfinished business here between Maxine Dupree and Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Moving on from that, we have Javon Evans taking on Rayo Americana. Now, throughout this entire match, you can hear on commentary that Javon Evans is technically testing free agency, and he's going back and forth from NXT, Monday Night Raw, and Friday Night SmackDown. And it seems like Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis would like to have Javon Evans on their program. And to be honest with you, if I had to pick Raw or SmackDown, I would rather see Javon Evans over on Friday Night SmackDown, due to the fact that they need an overhaul in the roster on SmackDown. And going into next month, SmackDown for the foreseeable future will be now 3 hours long every Friday night. So be very telling to see what SmackDown can do in the future. But let's get into this match, man. Javon Evans versus Rayo Americano. I thought it was actually a good match, man. Back and forth matchup between Evans and Rayo, with Evans keeping the pace of the match. Evans hits a Hurricane Rana on Rayo in the middle of the ring, followed by Evans and Rayo both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Grande Americano causes a distraction with the referee. Bravo then attacks Javon Evans with the referee being distracted. Rayo then hits a step-up enziguri on Javon Evans, but Evans hits his signature OG cutter on Rayo Americano. Pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Javon Evans. Hats off to Javon Evans for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, the show gets interrupted by Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella comes out to the ring through the crowd. She's standing on the announce table with microphone in hand. Nikki says that she's a legend and a Hall of Famer. Nikki then mocks Detroit because they were in Grand Rapids last night during their taped show. She mocks the Detroit Lions. She also mentions Ohio State, throwing some shade at Michigan. Nikki then also says that she is the star of the division and that she's far from over with Stephanie Vaquer. So, again, man, it looks like they are pushing this narrative that Nikki Bella will possibly get a rematch with Stephanie for the Women's World title. We'll talk more about that towards the end of the show. Moving on from that, we have Roxanne Perez taking on Bayley. I thought this was a decent match, back and forth matchup between Perez and Bayley, with Perez keeping the pace of the match. Raquel Rodriguez is here. She is ringside. Lyra Valkyria then attacks Raquel. Liv Morgan, who was also ringside during this match, attacks Lyra Valkyria. Liv then trips up Bayley. Liv then distracts the referee. Roxanne then throws Bayley into the exposed turnbuckle. Lyra then attacks Raquel and Liv Morgan. Lyra then smacks Bayley. This ultimately wakes Bayley up, pisses Bayley off. Bayley then goes to the top rope, hits her signature elbow drop off the top rope, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Bayley. Hats off to Bayley for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Gunther once again coming out to the ring to greet the fans. Gunther then grabs the microphone, tells the fans they shouldn't be mad at him, but instead be mad at the guy who tapped out like a bitch. After this, Gunther is interrupted by CM Punk. Punk and Gunther get face to face. Gunther then walks out of the ring. He goes to walk off, but he tells CM Punk that you can't see me. Then Gunther walks away, laughing it off. Mysterio's music hits. Mysterio comes down to the ring. Mysterio then is pretty much trying to talk to Gunther, but Gunther laughs at Mysterio. Gunther then makes his way to the back, where he's greeted by other superstars, but then he is greeted by none other than AJ Styles. It looks like there's some hostility here between AJ Styles and Gunther, and it looks like we might get a program here between AJ Styles and Gunther going into the new year. Some interesting stuff there between Styles and Gunther. And moving on from that, we go into our main event of Monday Night Raw. It is a tag team matchup. It is the Vision, Austin Theory and Bronson Reed, taking on CM Punk and Rey Mysterio. The match itself, I thought was a good match, man. Back and forth matchup between the Vision and Punk and Mysterio, with the Vision keeping the pace of the match. Mysterio then hits a 619 on Austin Theory, but Theory gets up, hits a foot stomp on Rey, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are the Vision. After the match, you can see the Vision attacking Mysterio and Punk. Breaker is here as well. Breaker then ends up hitting a spear on CM Punk, pretty much sending a message to CM Punk and Punk's World Heavyweight title. Couple of things I want to talk about, man, quickly before I get the hell up out of here when it pertains to Monday Night Raw. Number one, it was a okay show at best. Obviously, the show was taped. I do appreciate the fact that there was limited ads and commercials. Like I said, man, the commercials and ads play a significant role in why Raw is about 2.5 hours long. There's at least an hour of commercial and ads every single Monday Night Raw, and due to the fact that the show was taped, all we got last night was pure in-ring wrestling or in-ring segments with no commercials, no ads. And honestly, it was more of an enjoyable process to watch, man, because honestly, the commercials sometimes are just brutal. I mean, like I said, you got about an hour of ads and commercials throughout every single Monday Night Raw, man. So it gets brutal at times. With that being said, I mean, was there a lot that happened last night? No. Obviously, this was a tape show. Not a lot of things were newsworthy coming out of Monday Night Raw. You had Gunther come out to the ring, obviously trying to, cut a promo with the fans, pretty much still mocking John Cena after he made John Cena tap out, quote unquote, like a bitch, according to Gunther. But I will say this. I do think, as now for the past 2 weeks after the match that Gunther had with John Cena, it seems as if Gunther keeps running into AJ Styles. And I think, with the announcement that AJ Styles made early on in the year, where he did announce that 2026 will be his last year, is this something where we're possibly going to see a storyline here between Gunther and AJ Styles, where are we going to see Gunther possibly retire AJ Styles? Because Styles has made it well known that going into 2026 is his last in-ring wrestling career. It's coming to an end in 2026. So is this something where WWE and the powers that be are trying to, come up with a program here between Gunther and AJ Styles where Gunther is possibly going to retire the likes of an AJ Styles? Because we had the match with obviously Gunther and Goldberg. We had the match obviously with AJ Styles. John Cena and Gunther. Is this something where they're building Gunther as this guy that's coming in and pretty much retiring everybody's favorites? Is that the storyline that we're going here with Gunther? And like I said, I want to see how this plays out with Gunther, especially coming out of the match that he had with John Cena, and how they're really going to portray Gunther moving forward on television. Now, we have not seen Gunther in a match on Raw or at all since the match that he had with John Cena. So clearly they're playing the slow game here with Gunther. But I think they're slowly starting to build a matchup here or some kind of storyline here between Gunther and AJ Styles, especially knowing the fact that AJ Styles last year is in 2026. So we're going to see how that plays out, but it's very interesting to see how this is going to go between AJ Styles and Gunther. Javon Evans. Again, Javon Evans is a guy, I think he's 21, 22 years old, man. He's still very young in the game, man. He still has a lot of time to develop. He's not even in his goddamn prime yet. So, my thing with Javon Evans is this. Number one, I think he's an incredible athlete. I think he's a great wrestler. I think his in-ring ability and what he can do inside that squared circle is absolutely incredible. But when the match had happened with Javon Evans and Rayo Americano last night, a lot of people on commentary, I think it was even Michael Cole, that kept saying that, Javon Evans is testing free agency, that he's looking into going over to Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown, and we don't know if he's going to stay around with NXT. For all intents and purposes, I wouldn't mind seeing Javon Evans go over to SmackDown. SmackDown is going to be 3 hours going into the new year. Obviously, they need talent overhaul. They need some call-ups from NXT to facilitate SmackDown going to 3 hours. Because if not, and we get the same roster that we're getting now on SmackDown with them going to 3 hours, it's going to be very brutal for Friday Night SmackDown. And I'm not trying to discredit Javon Evans. My thing with Evans is I would have had Evans at least be NXT World Champion, have him run with that title for maybe a year, 6 months to a year, see what he can do with that, and at least kind of, at least be NXT World Champion. And some people were like, well, let's just fast track him to the main roster scene. That's not always necessarily the best idea for some of these talents. We've seen time and time again NXT talent go from NXT to the main roster, and it turns into a flop. We've seen that countless times. There's other names, in my opinion, right now that could be called up to the main roster besides a Javon Evans. We had the likes of a Obafemi, Ricky Saints or Ricky Starks, Jordan Grace, who's also been with NXT for a while now. Ethan Page is another name that could be called up into the main roster. So there is some names besides Javon Evans that could be called up to the main roster right now. More specifically, Friday Night SmackDown, to kind of boost the watching experience, if you will, on Friday Night SmackDown, besides Javon Evans. Am I against if he does go to SmackDown or Raw? No. I just believe that there's other people that are in front of the line over Javon Evans that could make their main roster debut and have Javon Evans stay in NXT and pretty much run roughshod on the NXT roster and become NXT World Champion. That's just my opinion. But if he gets called up, am I going to hate it? No, I'm not going to hate it at all. I just think there's other names that could be called up from NXT besides Javon Evans right now. Other thing I want to talk about too, man, is Nikki Bella. Now, I said this last week, and I think I'm going to say the same thing today. I don't know what the game plan is here with Nikki Bella. I really don't. I don't know if this is something where, to be honest with you, the heel turn for Nikki, it just ain't working. I think people are really not enthused. To be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people were genuinely excited or over the hill, if you will, that Nikki even returned back to WWE. If I'm being honest. I mean, some of this stuff, the thing of it is, bro, there's times where you'll go from a babyface to a heel, and sometimes it works and they strike gold or strike iron when the iron's hot, and sometimes it falls flat on its ass. Prime example of a babyface turning heel and it works. Naomi. Naomi, for majority of her career, was a babyface. When she turned heel, not only did it, I feel like it revamped her career, it also got her an opportunity at the Women's World title. And she had a really good title run, in my opinion, until she had to vacate the title because she wanted to start a family with Jimmy Uso. And again, understandable. Becky Lynch did the same thing. She vacated her title to Asuka, and she went on to have start a family. It's understandable. But what I'm saying to you guys is the fact that, that's a definition of a babyface turn heel, and it actually works, and it felt organic. We all didn't know what happened with Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill was attacked backstage from some anonymous person. Some people thought it was Bianca. Some people thought it was Naomi. And then come to find out it was Naomi because she was pissed off and jealous with Jade Cargill. And that whole heel turn it was organic, man. It felt great. Bayley was also hinting at a possible heel turn too. And right now it's still kind of up in the air. So again, it does work and it doesn't work. I mean, Becky Lynch, I think Becky turning heel, it works. For what it's worth, I think it works. Which we will talk about the Maxine situation as well here in a minute. But I think with Nikki Bella, it just doesn't come off organically. I feel like it's a forced agenda that they're trying to push out. And it's just not there. To be honest with you, I mean, when Nikki, before she had that world title match with Stephanie, she had more losses than wins. And the reason why they were pushing Nikki Bella at the time, because they were going into Survivor Series, a lot of the main roster talent that were top stars on Monday Night Raw were actually in the War Games matchup. You had Rhea Ripley, you had Io Sky. These are two top names on the women's division on Monday Night Raw that were tied to the women's War Games matchup with Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. So, and as well as AJ Lee. So, I mean, again, and it's not something where even with AJ Lee, some people are saying, well, AJ Lee can challenge for the women's world title or challenge for the women's Intercontinental Championship. Right now, AJ Lee is on a very, very limited schedule. Limited like maybe Roman Reigns type schedule, if not more limited than that. We might only see AJ Lee probably maybe 10 to 12 dates, maybe a year at this point. I think she's not going to be on every single Monday Night Raw. It's going to be very, very selective on when we're going to see the likes of AJ Lee on Monday Night Raw. It's not going to be on a consistent basis. It's not. So it does put things up in the air as far as who's going to be the next challenger for Stephanie Vaquer's women's world title. I mean, I had praised Raquel Rodriguez. I think Raquel has done a fantastic job. I think she's a force to be reckoned with within the women's division on Monday Night Raw. I think they're going to, obviously Adam Pearce announced they're going to run it back with a triple threat match with Nikki and Raquel taking on Stephanie Vaquer for the women's world title. But they're running out of options. They really are running out of options. And I think with Nikki turning heel, I don't think it's working. Man, I just don't. I think a lot of people give a rat's ass about what Nikki Bella is doing right now on Monday Night Raw. That's just me being honest. Me personally, I can give a rat's ass, man. I honestly can. I know she's pushing this Hall of Famer and legend narrative and all that, and I get it. She's a Hall of Famer. I understand it. It may be subjective, but in my opinion, this heel turn for Nikki is it doesn't feel organic. It feels like it's a forced agenda, and right now I feel like the powers that be and WWE really genuinely don't have a plan for Nikki Bella. Because even if she goes into this triple threat match and loses, really what's next for Nikki? Because it's going to get to a point where it's a laughingstock at that point, and no one really is going to even care about what Nikki Bella does anymore. I think, if anything, if we're going to bring Nikki Bella back into the fold of WWE, maybe have her as a manager role or something like that. It's not really panning out for her as far as in-ring, in my honest opinion. And speaking of the women, I also want to talk about Maxine Dupree. Look, for one, I can appreciate the fact that she has been training with Natalya. Natalya is a household name. She's a legend in her own right, and she has been with WWE for a very long time. I have nothing but praise for Natalya. Now, if Natalya can come back as Natty, this new persona that she's been having on the indies once in a blue moon, again, revamp the career. She comes back as a little bit more of a heel, more of a pissed-off Natty. It really could revamp Natalya's career before she rides off in the sunset and retires from WWE. I think it would be a great idea if WWE were actually willing to entertain that idea. Maxine, to me, I think with Maxine, number one, she did cut a decent promo last night in the back and forth banter that she had with Becky Lynch. I feel like the overall excitement to see Maxine as the Women's Intercontinental Champion and see her in the ring, I think it's kind of dull, to be honest with you. I don't think a lot of people are really enthused with her being the Women's Intercontinental Champion. I think, honestly, I don't even know why they even took the Women's Intercontinental Championship off Becky. It could have just been something where Maxine could have got a big win over Becky and called it a day. I don't really see Maxine really, even though she is Women's Intercontinental Champion, I don't think she's going to go on this elaborate title run. I think, Becky's going to come back and maybe win the Women's Intercontinental Championship, to be honest. I don't see the hype around Maxine Dupree. I just don't. I think Maxine, again, mid-card at best. and that's putting it very, very nicely, to be honest with you. I don't really see her as championship material, man. It might be a hot take for a lot of people, but I just don't see it. And I said the same thing about Zelina Vega. I mean, I think Vega, when she had the Women's U.S. Championship, she did nothing with it. The title run was shit. I think WWE and the powers that be, even on SmackDown, really had no idea what to do with that Women's U.S. title. And in defense of Zelina, they really still don't know what to do with that goddamn title, to be honest with you. Now, Zelina working with Aleister Black and kind of being more of a manager role with Aleister, I think is better suited for Zelina. And I think is really going to benefit her in her career, to be honest with you. I mean, look what she did when she was working with Andrade. It worked out well. When Andrade came into NXT and Zelina was working with Andrade, it worked out perfectly. She was the mouthpiece for Andrade. She was the manager of Andrade when he first came into the fold of WWE, and I think it just worked for Zelina. I just don't see Zelina as, again, I put her in the same category as a Maxine Dupree, to be honest with you. And, I mean, like I said, with the Women's U.S. title, it's just, I don't know, it's fallen flat, man. I mean, there's already people saying, even with Julia, that when she won the U.S. title, it honestly hindered her career, and that she might be on her way out. There's rumors and speculation that they might just be done with Julia and she might be on her way out, which is crazy because she's a very, very good talent if they know how to utilize her correctly. I mean, look what she did in NXT. So it's a give and take, man. But I think at the end of the day, obviously we're going to see how this plays out. Obviously we're in the holiday season, so obviously, talent's taking time off and spending time with their family. So these shows are going to be taped. But, and like I mentioned earlier with Friday Night SmackDown, man, with them going to 3 hours starting in January, they're going to have an overhaul of talent to go over to Friday Night SmackDown, for that show to be at least somewhat entertaining going into 3 hours every single Friday night. I mean, hell, Raw is only 2.5 hours. You got an extra 30 minutes of Friday Night SmackDown, so they need to have that show to have an overhaul of talent. There has to be something that's willing to spark people's interest. I know Jacob Fatu is on his way back, but you're going to need a hell of a lot more than just Jacob Fatu for the 3-hour Friday Night SmackDown moving forward, man. With all due respect to Jacob Fatu, and I'm a big fan of Jacob Fatu, but you're going to need more than just Jacob Fatu for a 3-hour SmackDown every single week. Cody Rhodes can't carry that show on his back every single week for 3 hours. It's not going to happen. So hopefully we'll see some transitions here from NXT going into the main roster. Hopefully more for Friday Night SmackDown because God knows they need it. But I wasn't really expecting a lot out of this Monday Night Raw episode, to be honest with you. I really wasn't. Obviously the show was taped. I think the biggest plus was the fact that it was an hour and 34 minutes. And there was no commercials or ads, to be honest with you, man. I mean, sometimes the commercial and ads for a live Monday Night Raw, man, it's just absolutely brutal, man. You're talking literally an hour of commercials and ads throughout the entire duration of Monday Night Raw, man. It's just absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. The other thing I want to talk about, too, man, quickly, is the schedule for this week as far as episodes and stuff that are coming out on the podcast or on the YouTube channel as well. So, first and foremost, obviously everybody knows that Christmas is in a couple days. People are going to be spending time with family and loved ones and stuff like that, and, opening gifts for Christmas and stuff like that, or enjoying the holidays. So I wanted to tell you guys and at least let you guys know what my schedule was looking like as far as uploads are concerned. So obviously you guys are getting this Monday Night Raw uploaded usual day, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday morning, like I normally do. Dynamite. There will be a review for AEW Dynamite. I think Dynamite actually starts a little bit early this week. I think 6 p.m. Eastern. I think they're going to be live, or might be a tape show from the Hammerstein Ballroom, which I heard through the grapevine that they actually sold out the shows they had for the Hammerstein Ballroom. And I think the show starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. There will be a review for Dynamite, but the review probably will not happen until probably Friday. I think Christmas is on Thursday. Christmas Eve, I'm not even going to be around. I'm hanging out with my wife and stuff like that and doing some family traditions that we usually do around the holidays. So we're going to be kind of busy, and I'm not really going to have the time to watch Dynamite on Wednesday night. But there will be a review for AEW Dynamite, most likely Friday afternoon, Friday midday. Obviously, I also know that we got World's End coming up for AEW on Saturday for the 27th. There also will be a review for that, most likely on Monday morning or Monday afternoon. So once we get past Christmas, we're going to go back to the normal schedule and stuff like that. But I just want to let you guys know what was going on for this week. Obviously, with the holidays coming up, schedule is going to be kind of in flux for the holidays this week. So Again, just wanted to be transparent with you guys and tell you guys what was going on my side of things. And if you are new here, man, again, check out the Spotify at Mr. Classic Wrestling Podcast. And if you are also new here, check out the YouTube channel, man. Stay Classic with Mr. Classic. I'm putting out content over there also every single week. Go over there, give it a subscribe, like, thumbs up, and stuff like that. I would really, really appreciate it, especially going into the end of the year. But I got some big plans, man, going into the new year. Like I said, man, I'm contemplating watching the UFC and putting out coverage for the UFC. I'm also thinking about doing TNA reviews. I know TNA is going to be having their TV deal in place, and we will be watching TNA on AMC going into the new year next month. They'll be live on Thursdays on AMC, so I'm also looking into possibly covering TNA. Obviously, it's got a lot of people excited for them actually having a TV deal that everybody actually can watch their product. So it's going to be a big year going into 2026, and which I will talk about more before the end of the year is up for 2025 and my plans with the podcast. But like I said, man, I mean, I wasn't expecting a lot out of Monday Night Raw, just like I'm not really expecting a lot out of Friday Night SmackDown. I know some of y'all are like, where's the SmackDown reviews? They're coming, man. Friday nights, it's hard for me to get the SmackDown uploads out with everything else I got going on behind the scenes right now. It's just hard to get the SmackDown content that's, out, to be honest with you. And again, it is a little daunting knowing that SmackDown is going to be 3 hours starting next month. It's going to be very daunting, to be honest with you, to watch SmackDown every Friday for 3 hours, especially with what we've been getting as of late on SmackDown. But the SmackDown reviews are coming, man. They're definitely coming, and we're going to be having more of a stricter schedule going into the new year, and I'm going to hold myself accountable. Absolutely. I'm going to take full accountability on that and start putting out more content for you guys going into the new year, like I mentioned earlier, with possibly the UFC or also adding TNA to the mix of this podcast and YouTube channel as well. So, like I mentioned earlier, man, if you guys are new here, please, man, go over to Spotify, follow me on Spotify, go over to YouTube at Stay Classic with Mr. Classic. Give me a thumbs up, give me a follow, give me a like and subscribe, man. It would mean a lot to me, mean the world to me, to be honest with y'all. And we're going to keep it pushing, man, going into the new year, man. I got a lot of stuff, a lot of ideas going into the new year with what I want to do with the podcast, man. So I'm very excited for the new year. And again, giving you guys more content going into the new year, man. So it's going to be a big 2026 for the podcast going into the new year, man. But like I said, Raw was not bad. It wasn't the greatest show. It wasn't the worst show either. I've seen a hell of a lot worse with Monday Night Raw, but I wasn't expecting a whole hell of a lot coming out of Monday Night Raw, considering the fact that the show was taped. And like I said, man, just trying to find the show last night was a grade A pain in the ass, because, I mean, when you go to Monday Night Raw and it hits live and it takes you to an event that happened on August 25th of this year, you're like, what the hell is going on? So you had to, go through the episode section of Netflix for Monday Night Raw, and then scroll up, and then, there's tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw, and it was just like a grade A pain in the ass. But again, I think SmackDown also is going to be taped this week as well. I think WWE is kind of taking a break. This is kind of like a weird time of the year for WWE that kind of, stifle a lot of things and some storylines going into the new year. So we're going to see. I do know that Monday Night Raw's episode in January, I think it's like the first week of January. It's their anniversary of when they got with Netflix. It's going to be a great show. We got the main event with CM Punk and Braun Breaker for the world title. It's going to be a very interesting match. In my opinion, I think Braun Breaker should walk out of that match World Heavyweight Champion, in my opinion. I just think it's time for Braun Breaker to be World Heavyweight Champion. I think it's time, to be honest with you. And CM Punk can, maybe take a step back and let Braun Breaker be World Heavyweight Champion for a little bit and see what he can actually do with that world title. But with that being said, though, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe, be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.